Aunt chose to adopt my sister over me when we were kids after our parents passed away. Now 15 years of no contact, she has Alzheimer's with no family visiting, and wants me to see her. I, 23F, lost my parents in a car accident when I was 8 years old, and after that, I was raised by my adoptive parents, who happened to be friends of my parents before they passed away. I also had an older sister who was 2 years older than me, who I have not been in touch with for the past 15 years, ever since we got adopted by different families. My parents had been driving home from the movies at night and my sister and I were at home with the babysitter, but unfortunately, they were never able to make it back home alive. They collided with a truck, whose driver was driving drunk, and that was the end. They were not able to survive that, and soon enough, my sister and I had been separated. The reason for our separation was that after our parents passed away, my aunt decided to take my sister in, but not me. I guess for some reason, she believed that I was not good enough to be a part of her family. And so, she only adopted my sister and I ended up getting taken in by my adoptive parents, who took me in after my aunt rejected me. She was the one who had put me up for adoption and I literally had no idea about it, but my adoptive parents were able to find out about it and nip it in the bud by taking me in, and then we relocated to some other place just so that I could have a fresh start. I will always be grateful to my parents, biological and adoptive, for everything that they have done for me, because I don't think I would have been the person that I am today, had it not been for them. I found out the true reason that my sister and I have been separated only after I had turned 18, since that's when my adoptive parents chose to tell me that the reason my aunt had rejected me was because she did not think that I was a good fit for her perfect family, and so, she did not want to keep me. She had been against the idea right from the very beginning and had only wanted to take in my sister, and had even put me up for adoption. They found out about it, and my adoptive parents decided to talk to her about it and told her that what she was doing was not ethical. But she did not seem to care and said that she only wanted a perfect family, and I did not fit into it. Her reasons were that I was too much to deal with, and so, she would rather raise my sister than me. By too much, she just meant that I was a bit of a troublemaker in my childhood and I was very talkative. But I think every kid is like that around that age, and I was just very mischievous, and I think that should not have been a reason to reject me, but anyway, I'm glad that she did, because I didn't really get along with my aunt earlier as well. Before my parents passed away, whenever my aunt would visit us, she would always make it a point to praise my sister and put me down because she thought that my sister was a lot more ladylike and behaved appropriately, as opposed to me. I was always running around the house and getting up to something, just like kids usually do. But my sister was a lot quieter and calmer, and usually stayed in her room, reading or painting, among other things that she enjoyed doing. While I would create a ruckus in the house, constantly on the run, and she would always try to reprimand me for it. But my parents would always be on my side and try to explain to her that this is just how kids were, and that she needed to come around to it and accept it instead of trying to make things so perfect all the time. I would just like to clarify that I was not badly behaved as a child, and I respected everybody, and spoke to everyone nicely and stuff, but I was just a little hyper. I don't think that is bad. I was literally 8 years old. I think what was really problematic was having bad blood with a little child when you are at that age. My aunt was in her 30s at the time, and I still think it's pretty weird that she disliked me even though I was literally just being a kid. Anyway, after my parents passed away, I left with her for a couple of weeks, with no idea that she was actually putting me up for adoption behind my back. I'm just lucky that my adoptive parents were able to find out about what was going on and able to confront her about it. They tried to convince her not to do this, but she was bent on what she wanted to do, so eventually, my adoptive parents got into a huge fight with her where they called her a bunch of names and told her that she was the most god-awful person on the planet. Then, they decided to adopt me and relocate to Philadelphia with me. After that, we did not have any ties with my aunt's family. Mostly because she did not want to have any contact with us, and unfortunately, in the process, my sister and I ended up getting separated. I was upset about it for a couple of weeks, but then, I moved on because I was young, and also my sister and I were not particularly close. She and I were not best friends, and it hurts me to say this, I don't want to sound mean, but it really did not affect me the way that it should have. I was upset about losing my parents, but not so much about losing my sister, because even when we used to live together with our parents, we wouldn't speak to each other much and kind of kept our distance, since I always felt like whenever I wanted to talk to her, she would get all annoyed by me, and so, I tried not to bother her too much. We did not have a close relationship, and so, that did not make much of a difference to me, which is probably why my adoptive parents also did not make much of a fuss about the separation. Anyway, after that, we did not have any contact with my aunt, and even the rest of my family cut her off because of the way she had treated me. Because I think everybody knew that putting me up for adoption and keeping my sister instead was kind of mean, and they couldn't believe that she was treating a little child like that, who had just lost her parents. So my adoptive parents and I kept in touch with the rest of my family, and my aunt and her family were left out of every event and nobody spoke to her anymore. So we didn't really know what they had been up to in the past 15 years. I lived my life to the fullest, trying to do right by my parents, and even though I would occasionally think about my sister, I knew better than to try and reach out to her, because if she had wanted to talk to me, she would have done so herself. I knew that she was on social media and I had tried to stalk her a couple of times, but unfortunately, she had private accounts everywhere, and I did not want to follow her and make my presence known, since I did not think that it would be welcome. And I was right, I guess. 15 years have passed and now, I'm in my 20s. I have a stable job and I have been working for the past few months. I've graduated with a degree in economics and I would say that I'm doing well for myself. I live a couple of blocks away from my parents in a rented apartment with my boyfriend of 6 years, and we are planning on getting married in a couple of months. But then out of the blue, about a week ago, I received a call from the nursing home back in Oregon, which is where I used to live as a child, and they told me that they had bad news for me. I was kind of taken aback because all the relatives that were close to me, they were doing pretty well and nobody was in any medical trouble, so I did not know who they were calling about. And then I was told they were calling about my aunt, who had rejected the idea of adopting me, all those years ago, and that was the shock of my life. They told me that she had been diagnosed with Alzheimer's a couple of months ago, and since then, her family had abandoned her, and they rarely ever came to visit. They were calling me to let me know that her condition was deteriorating because this was the number that my sister had apparently given to them. I don't know how she got her hands on it, but anyway, I was able to find out that my aunt was suffering from Alzheimer's and desperately needed somebody to take care of her because she would not be able to make it without the support of her family, and emotionally, she had given up already. Her family had stopped visiting her after the diagnosis since they did not want to deal with this sort of thing right now. Everybody was busy in their own lives, and so, my sister handed over my number to the staff at the nursing home, and they just wanted to keep me updated because they did not know what else to do and they felt bad for my aunt since she would end up crying every evening because of what was going on with her. She kept begging her kids to visit, her biological son and my sister, but both of them are busy with their jobs and lives, so they did not visit anymore. They had specifically asked the staff at the nursing home to stop calling them because they did not want to hear what was going on with their mother. Her husband had filed for a divorce because he had given up and confessed to her that he would not be able to handle this and he wanted to get out of it while he was still ahead. It was just a terrible and pathetic situation for her, and I really did feel bad for her, because I don't think anybody, no matter what, deserves to be treated like that. So now, they wanted me to visit and just talk to her because they did not know who else to talk to. They had also asked my aunt if she would like to meet me and she had said yes, and specifically asked them to call me up and ask me to visit, which is why I'm even more conflicted about all of this. And I've been thinking about it ever since I received that phone call, but I just can't figure out what I want to do because on the one hand, I know that not visiting would probably make me a bad person and it would be really mean, but on the other hand, what would I talk to her about? She was the one who rejected me 15 years ago and now, she's asking for me because everybody else has turned their backs on her. I don't even know why my sister would give them my number and ask them to call me, since I'm guessing that she knows what had happened all those years ago. I don't even know how she got my number, but I guess I will find out about that later. This is what I have to worry about right now. I have spoken to my boyfriend about it and he thinks that I should visit her if I feel so bad about it, and has even offered to accompany me for moral support. Have you even spoken to my adoptive parents and they feel the same way? Since everybody just feels bad for her now, her condition is pretty bad, and if she's asking for me to visit, I don't know if I can turn it down. But there's honestly a big part of me that doesn't want to go because of everything that has happened in the past. And I feel just so incredibly guilty because of that part of me that doesn't want to visit her, knowing what she's going through. So here I am, asking AITA if I refuse to visit my aunt who has been diagnosed with Alzheimer's and has nobody to visit her. Update 1. Hey, thank you so much for the comments. I've decided that I'm gonna take some more time and think about it. It was only yesterday that I made that post and my comments have already been flooded with people saying different things, and honestly, this has just led to more confusion for me. So I guess the best way to deal with this is to just think about it, and decide for myself, because everybody has different opinions right now. But in other news, I was able to find out what my sister has been up to because I spoke to a couple of my relatives, and I found out that she had been asking around for me, and one of my cousins had, for whatever reason, thought that it would be a good idea to give her my number because she was asking for it. I don't know why that cousin did not think it through, because everybody knows that we don't have a good relationship with my aunt and her family, and my sister happens to be a part of the family. So I think she should have asked me before giving her my number, but anyway, the damage has been done now. I'm gonna minimize contact with this particular cousin of mine for some time because I'm really pissed about what she did. I thought that it was really stupid, and no amount of apologizing is going to undo what she had done. I was living my life quite peacefully, but then, she decided to give my number to my sister, whom I have not even been talking terms for the past 15 years, without even bothering to consult me first. I wouldn't even have been able to find out about what was going on with my aunt and felt all this guilt and had to deal with all these emotions, so I kind of blame her for this, but anyway, not gonna think about that right now. I also did some asking around about my sister, and people from back home, my relatives for the most part, told me that my sister was not even living in Oregon anymore. Apparently, she had moved to New York a couple of months ago, shortly after my aunt's diagnosis, and she was pursuing her dream of becoming a writer. She was doing a 10-month course right now, and that's why she had decided that she was not going to come back until she had accomplished something. The fact that my aunt kept trying to talk to her pissed her off, so she blocked my aunt's number and told the staff at the nursing home to stop calling her and give them my number. I thought it was one of the most selfish moves ever because regardless of my relationship with my aunt, I don't think my sister had a bad relationship with her. My aunt had spent the past 15 years of her life raising this woman, and this is what she got for that. I don't even want to talk about her husband and her son, since I have nothing to do with them, but I'm just surprised that my sister could be capable of something like this. Granted, I have not spoken to her in 15 years and I don't know how she is, but when we were younger, she always seemed like a nice girl. So this is quite shocking to me. Anyway, I guess time changes everything and that's what happened with her. Except, she did not change for the better, she definitely changed for the worse. I just feel pity for my aunt now because she clearly bet on the wrong person. I told my parents about this, and they were quite shocked because my aunt had put up a huge fight because when they had decided to adopt me, they had even said that they would try to take my sister with me because they did not want to separate us as siblings, but my aunt had told them that she would never allow it to happen, and it had become quite a bone of contention between the two of them. But eventually, it was decided that since neither of us would miss each other too much, it would be better to separate us since we did not seem to care about any of that. I don't know if it was the right thing to do, and I have noticed that even in the comments, a lot of people have been giving my adoptive parents a lot of flack for it, but let me just remind you guys that they were adopting me and then they were not exactly financially stable as they are now, so that was a big deal for them. They were doing their best and I really appreciate that about them. I don't think I need to defend them because they did what was right and that's it. I don't think they reserve any of the harsh comments that they received here, but that's fine. It's the internet and I wasn't expecting any better, to be honest. Anyway, they told me that she had been fiercely protective of my sister and had made it very clear that she was not going to give up her custody, come what may. So now, to find out that my sister had abandoned my aunt, was just purely shocking. Update 2, hi, so I received a call from the nursing home once again today. It has officially been 2 weeks since the last phone call, and today, they were asking me if I had made up my mind about whether I was going to visit or not. And I told him that I needed some more time because honestly, I'm really busy with work right now and I'm swamped. I have no time to do anything and also to plan an engagement party because my boyfriend just proposed to me 2 days ago, and if I'm being honest, my aunt is the last thing that I have on my mind right now. I have a gazillion things to think about, so I just can't afford to spend my time worrying about my aunt. I know it does not make me a bad person because let's be real, I have not met this woman for the past 15 years. I don't think I can feel that bad for somebody that I don't even know. On a human level, maybe I feel bad for her because I can have empathy for someone I don't know. But more practically, I'm not going to go out of my way to do something for somebody who does not have any relation with me. She never bothered to reach out to me or apologize to me in the past 15 years, so why should I do something for her and try to be there for her when she never did the same for me? She rejected me when I was literally just 8 years old and I'm rejecting her when she's sick. That's it, there's nothing personal, I'm just too busy. I explained my situation to the staff and they seem to understand. So I guess that's that. I'm gonna visit her later if I get the time to do so. I told my parents and my boyfriend about my decision and they seemed to be on board with it. They told me that it was not my duty to visit her and take care of her. I owe her absolutely nothing, so it does not make me a bad guy at all, and that was quite reassuring for me. She should be mad at her children and ask them to visit, instead of me. Because they actually owe that to her, not me. Update 3, hey, so I mentioned in my earlier post that I got engaged a couple of days ago, and today, I threw an engagement party for my friends and family. I went back to Oregon and that's where we had the party because that's where most of my family lives, and incidentally, my boyfriend's parents are also from there, which is what we actually bonded on initially. Anyway, we posted a lot of photos on Instagram and stuff, and I guess somehow, my sister was able to find out about it. So she reached out to me about an hour after the party was over and congratulated me. This was the first time that I had heard from her in almost 15 years, so you can understand that this was a pretty huge deal. Now, under usual circumstances, on other days, I probably wouldn't have responded to that message, but I was kind of tipsy today because I had a couple of drinks and I was also in a really good and celebratory mood, so I decided to be nice to her because why not? So I responded to her, and I thanked her for congratulating me, but then curiosity got the better of me, and I just couldn't help myself, so I asked her what had made her text me after so long. Because given the circumstances, I did not think that she was ever going to talk to me. Because I guess she knows what she has done, by giving our aunt false hopes that maybe I'm gonna call her and get in touch with her and stuff. She was behind it, so I did not expect her to text me and be nice to me, let alone congratulate me. So I asked her what was going on and, well, I have been able to find out a lot of things, which has helped me make sense of a couple of things and I'm still trying to wrap my head around. It's 1 a.m. right now, and about half an hour ago, I got off a really long phone call with my sister. I haven't even talked to my fiancé or my parents about it because they're both dog tired and the kind of things that I have found out. I think I will talk to them the next morning, since this is just heavy stuff. Anyway, after the initial small talk with my sister, when I asked her why she had gotten in touch with me, she told me that she believed that she owed me an explanation. So I told her that she indeed did, and then, she asked me if she could call me, so I told her that she could since my fiancé had already passed out, and I did not have much else to do. And then, she called me, and we ended up talking for almost 3 hours because there was so much to discuss. First off, she started by apologizing to me for putting me on the spot and told me that it was actually my aunt who had asked her to provide the nursing home staff with my number and that's why she had done what she did. So it was actually not even her idea, but it was my aunt's. And then, she started telling me exactly why she had abandoned her aunt. So apparently, after she got adopted, life changed for her drastically. Our parents had been quite chill and would never pressure us into doing anything that we did not want to, but my aunt was a crazy helicopter parent. She not only pressured her own son into doing literally everything, but she also treated my sister the same day and pushed them into all sorts of activities like sports, music, and everything else, things that they were not even interested in, and would still want them to excel academically. Nobody is built for that kind of pressure and they were not able to take it. So it was very difficult for them to excel at everything that they were doing since there was just so much on their plate and they never had a moment to relax. She developed an anxiety disorder and had to start therapy during her teenage years, and our cousin, my aunt's biological son, took up smoking and drinking, and he was in a really bad state. He couldn't even go to college because he had become a total addict who couldn't even function and had started behaving really weirdly and he had to be sent to rehab. After that, it was obviously unlikely that he would come back and be the same person. And once cousin was gone, all the focus was on her, and instead of taking it easy on her, and learning a lesson after what had happened to her son, she decided that she was going to push her even harder, and my sister couldn't take it anymore. She just snapped under pressure and ended up choosing a college that would be the farthest from home, and after that, she minimized the contact she had with her aunt. For the last couple of years, they barely had spoken to each other, and even when the diagnosis came through, she only came back home for a couple of days and then, everybody made it very clear that they wanted nothing to do with that woman because she had made life horrible for everyone. Her own biological son blamed her for everything that was going wrong in his life, and to be honest, her parenting techniques had set him back by quite a couple of years in his life. He was still struggling in his career and everybody else his age was doing so well, which obviously made him feel bad. And he blamed her for everything, and rightfully so he decided that he was never going to visit his mother again. My sister went the same way and then, her husband finally decided to leave her because he couldn't take it anymore either. So in the end, she had nobody else to blame herself. And then I asked my sister why exactly had she asked for my phone number because we hadn't even been talking to him for the past 15 years, so I had no idea why she would want to keep in touch with me and want me to visit her. I didn't even have anything to say to her. And then my sister told me that she wasn't sure, but she believed that, if she would be able to make things right with me, it would probably encourage her to keep in touch with my aunt as well. Something messed up of the sort, or at least that's what the nursing home staff had been telling her recently, when she called 2 days ago, to check up on what her aunt had been up to, because she's not inhumane. When she called to ask about how my aunt had been doing, they told her that my aunt was quite disappointed that I hadn't reached out to her yet because she had been expecting me to talk to her. Apparently, she has been telling everybody that she thinks that this is karma for the way she had rejected me all those years ago, and she believed that if she tried to make things right with me, that would probably encourage her own family to keep in touch with her and take care of her as well. It was a surprisingly sad take on the state of affairs in her life right now, but quite accurate. Maybe it was karma, maybe it wasn't. Either way, she has sealed her own fate with her behavior. If she had been nice to everybody in her life, she probably would not be in this condition right now, but then, the damage has already been done. I am definitely not going to visit her. I've made up my mind about it. I don't owe it to her and honestly, I'm really busy with my own life to care about such things. Of course, I still feel bad for her. I hope that she makes some friends there and people treat her kindly, but apart from that, I don't think I can do much for her. I am engaged now, I have a lot to look forward to in my life, and I'm going to stick to whatever I was doing before. I found out about my aunt and what she has been up to. I'm not gonna let that bother me, and if that makes me a bad person in some people's opinions, fine, I don't really care about it anymore. My sister and I are going to try and reconnect because there have been a lot of misunderstandings and bad blood between us in the past, but we are grown up now. I think we should give it a chance to put everything aside and start anew. So that's what we're gonna do, and I hope everything goes well for me.